What is up, internet? You are watching Eric's Joystick. I am Erik, of course, and today we're going to do a little video for International Podcast Day. It is September 30th. Hopefully this video is done before. I left a little poll on Twitter to see if you guys were okay with off-topic videos on this channel, which is Eric's Joystick, and you guys seem fine with it, or don't really care. Either way, this is like the first of hopefully many off-topic videos. So what is a podcast? Here's the definition I picked up from Wikipedia. A podcast is a digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or mobile device, typically available as a series, new installments of which can be received by subscribers automatically. I like to think of them as pre-recorded radio shows. They can go from anywhere to 10 minutes to 3 hours. It's pretty wild. So why do I enjoy podcasts? You don't have to sit down and watch them like a YouTube video or like a TV show. You can listen to them while you take a walk or while driving or while you're at your desk in the office. There's a bunch of different kinds of podcasts too. Stuff like current events, sports, fiction, pop culture, educational stuff, and even niche ones like a bunch of friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's something for everyone. Find a topic and you'll probably find a podcast all about it. So if you think that sounds neat, you're probably wondering to yourself, where can you get podcasts? There are many different ways to find podcasts on the internet. You can get them at iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and on apps like Pocket Cast and Podcast Addict. These are for Android, by the way. I don't really use iOS, so there's probably an iOS equivalent of each app on the App Store. Or you can just get them on iTunes. It's probably easier anyway. Most podcasts are available on iTunes, some exclusively. So you're probably up to this point and you're probably like, hey Eric, you ever wanted to make a podcast before? I've dabbled in making a podcast, and these days it's easier than ever to get started on making one. With PC programs like Audacity, websites like SoundCloud and Spreaker, there's even apps like Anchor that'll let you edit, upload, and publish your own podcast series. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, that sounds great, but what should I listen to? Here's a list of some of my favorite podcasts. I'm gonna try and steer away from popular shows like My Brother and Me, Welcome to Night Vale, Serial, The Nerdist, and all these other ones, and give you a small list of some of my personal favorite podcasts. I'll leave a link to some of these in the description below, and you can go check those out whenever you want. And you can subscribe to all of these on Google Play and iTunes and all over the internet. So let's start off with Lore. Lore is a podcast written and narrated by Aaron Mahnke, not to be mistaken with the Pokemon Mankey. It's a little bit of history, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of horror. Lore tells stories that show off a darker side of history. Stories about creatures, murderers, haunted places, demonic possessions, and a whole bunch of other creepy tales that have been passed down from generation after generation. Like most of the shows I'll talk about today, you can jump in from just about any episode. My favorites so far are Quarantine, The Bloody Pit, The Beast Within, and The Mountain. There's even a series coming to Amazon Video based on the podcast. Might have to check that out when it comes. You can check out the entire series of Lore at www.lorepodcast.com. So the next show up is Quirpline. Quirpline is a short comedy podcast on Loading Ready Run. It's kind of similar to Welcome to Night Vale, where it consists of a fictional radio station of a fictional town. This is a morning radio show on QWRP-FM, broadcasting from scenic Innsbruck, hosted by Graham and Alex. I have a bit of trouble describing this one and why I love it so much, but I do think the show needs some love. Each episode is under 15 minutes, and each episode is very funny. You can check out Quirpline at loadingreadyrun.com. So next up we got What's Tech on The Verge. What's Tech is a podcast on The Verge hosted by Chris Plant. It covers and simplifies a lot of topics and things in the tech world and on the internet, like drones, smartwatches, VR, bitcoins, ASMR, Minecraft, fanfics, and even covers some more adult themes. You can listen to the entire series at www.theverge.com. Star Talk is a podcast turned TV show hosted by popular astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. He usually has a comedian co-host. Sometimes it's Chuck Nice or Eugene Merman from Bob's Burgers. This podcast is a mix of science and pop culture and has a massive selection of episodes, like interviews with Terry Crews, Jizza from the Wu-Tang Clan, Herbie Hancock, and Carolyn Porco, who was at the head of the recently finished Cassini mission and was a member of the New Horizons mission. I like this podcast because it's both entertaining and educational in a way that isn't snore-inducing, and you can jump in from just about any episode. You can check out all 8 current seasons of Star Talk at www.startalkradio.net. So next up we got Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a podcast hosted by Ben Boland and Matt Frederick. This one covers a range of topics based on conspiracies like aliens and assassinations and secret military bases. You know, stuff they don't want you to know. Anyway, you can jump in at any episode. The ones I recommend are Project Iceworm, The Mysterious Lake City Quiet Pills, What Happened to Elisa Lam, The Georgia Guidestones, Secret Space Programs, and The Illegal Underground City in Beijing, and the one on the Mandela Effect. You can check them out at www.stufftheydon'twantyouto.com. So next up we got Stuff You Should Know. Stuff You Should Know is a podcast hosted by Charles Chuck Bryant and Josh Clark. It's on the same network as Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, They're actually on the same network at www.howstuffworks.com. Charles and Josh explore a lot of topics related to science, history, and pop culture. This is another fun educational podcast that is also not boring. You can jump in from just about any episode, and a lot of their older episodes are worth giving a listen to as well. I recommend the one about porta potties, or the ones on animal rights, or one on how you can donate your body to science. And then there's the one on polyamory. You can check out Stuff You Should Know at www.stuffyoushouldknow.com. So next up we got Waypoint Radio on the Vice Network, I think. Waypoint Radio is a weekly video game podcast hosted by Patrick Klepek, Austin Walker, and Danielle Riendeau. They talk about current events in the video game community, new releases, and experiences with video games they're currently playing. I enjoy Waypoint because the conversation between these three are always just fun. You can check out Waypoint Radio at waypoint.vice.com. So next up is 30-2010. It's on the Laser Time Podcast Network. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. I recommend Laser Time and Video Game Apocalypse. And I hear Talking Simpsons is good, but I don't really care about that. Anyway, 30-2010 is a podcast hosted by Christopher Antista, Brett Elston, Diana Goodman, and sometimes Henry Gilbert. It's a look back into movies, TV, video games, and all kinds of events that happened in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, along with a look back at their lives during those times. It's a fun podcast to listen to because it's full of trivia and info on both popular and obscure media. You can listen to 30-2010 and all of Laser Time's other podcasts at lasertimepodcast.com. So the last podcast on this list is one of my absolute favorites. It's called The Adventure Zone. The Adventure Zone is a podcast by the McElroy brothers and their father. The McElroy brothers are a popular trio of brothers who host a whole bunch of other popular podcasts and YouTube series like My Brother and Me and Monster Factory. The boys and their dad play through a Dungeons & Dragons campaign with Travis and Justin and their father Clint as the main character, in a world crafted by Griffin. This is a series you'll want to listen to from the beginning. It's a little rough at the start, but it gets so much better later on. You can check out all 69 episodes at www.maximumfun.org. Nice. So those are a list of all of my favorite podcasts. I strongly recommend each one of them. You can find all of them on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you get your podcasts. But before I wrap this up, I also want to give a shout out to a few podcasts made by some of my friends. So first up we have the Sockscast. It's a bi-weekly podcast from the fine people at socksmakepeoplesexy.net. It's hosted by Polly, Rhett, and John. They talk about all the media they're currently into, like music and video games and anime and movies, and they talk about current events in video games, and they answer listener questions. It's a pretty lengthy podcast though, I'm not gonna lie, it's like 3 hours. The average episode is about 3 hours long. Polly has also done some entertaining interviews with speedrunners like Angry Lanks, game developers like the gang at Joy Masher, and the voice actress Kira Buckland, who voiced the lovely 2B in the Western version of Nier Automata. So if you're into any of that, you can check out the Sockscast with Polly, Rhett, and John at socksmakepeoplesexy.net. I was on twice, and both were awkward episodes. My favorites are the ones with Samurai Karasu. He's kinda hilarious. Polly also hosts another podcast with her friends Taylor, Boner, and Byron called the SNS Album Listening Club. They're both at socksmakepeoplesexy.net. Another one is produced by my friend Matthew Walden. It's a short and sweet podcast called Game is a Four-Letter Word. It's a video game podcast for people who don't play video games. Each episode takes a 4-letter word and talks about video game themes that surround it. You can listen to the entire first season at gl4w.net. My favorite episodes are Pink and Neon. I'm gonna also take a moment to plug my Anchor page. Anchor is an app and site which lets you record, edit, upload, and publish your voice clips to a profile or a station. From there you can make your own kind of radio show with stuff like audio transitions and even music off of Spotify. But it goes even further than that, because with Anchor you can also publish your own podcast on a service like iTunes or Google Play, and it takes little to no effort at all. I've had an account on Anchor since the beta for the Android app launched, and it has come such a long way. I don't post to it like I used to, but I would like to somewhere down the line. I'm normally not one for hot takes or super critical thinking, but I do like to have a space where I can let out my thoughts. Audibly, at least. If I ever do decide to start sharing again, you can check that out at anchor.com/cosmicnomad. That's nomad with a 0 instead of an O. I was trying to be cool. Anyway, so that's all of them. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, you can leave a comment in the bottom below. If you have a favorite podcast that you want to recommend, also leave it in the comment section below. Once again, all the podcasts will be linked in the description along with my anchor.fm page if you guys want to check that out as well. You can follow me here on YouTube at youtube.com/EriksJoystick or twitch.tv/EriksJoystick. And you can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/EriksJoystick. That's the best place, I think, for like updates and stuff. But anyway, there's that. Enjoy podcast. Happy International Podcast Day. I'm Eric, and I'm out of here. Peace. I recommend the one about porta potty. Fuck. Okay, let's try this again.